Okay, here we go. This is the start game menu. New GUI, don't know if you can notice. Right, we've got single player game, that's for just playing on your own. LAN skirmish, that's for playing against other people through a router but not through the internet. So people on the same local area network as you. Internet skirmish is for playing against people over the internet. So people not on the same LAN as you. Proxy is for if there's issues getting the routers to connect to each other. If your internet connection keeps failing, you may have to use the proxy server. It's slow and unstable, and frankly it's not very good. I put that in as a kind of quick fix. Replay game is for replaying a game that you've played previously and saved by pressing the L key whilst playing. Not really important, it's mostly a debugging thing. There's also generate map, where you can generate your own terrain maps, but it's not kind of core, so I'm going to ignore that. We're just going to play single player, but in fact we'll go through LAN. You can choose whether you want to be host or client. Every game needs one host, and everyone else has to be clients. Clients connect to hosts automatically. You can have one host on LAN at any one time. If you go through the internet, it will connect to the server online. You'll load up your game with the game name you've given it, and then anyone else can try and connect to that. So one person, we need a host. It doesn't matter if we don't actually have any other players in the game. It will handle that quite happily. We've got which map you're currently using. No map means you'll have no terrain. You've got the game type, that's the conditions for winning. You've got a combat mechanic, that is how combat is resolved. And you've got race, that basically does skin, otherwise the race is identical. You've also got a set of sliders here, and you've got some buttons. So first of all, load map. You click load map, you get a load map screen here. Here's a cancel button, here's a list of maps with names. If you click one, you load that map up. It's quite simple. In fact, let's load up Rods of God, I like that one. And then you'll see the map name has appeared up here. Display map will show what the map actually have. Again, it's a bit technical, I haven't got any proper views of it. That gives you an idea of what the starting locations are and where the terrain is and what the terrain types are. So let's get rid of that. First two sliders can only be done by the host. So the host can set how many AI players you want. The number of AI players is 8 minus the number of human players. So it starts at 7. As human players come in, they'll come down. Theoretically, you can have up to 255 players. I've put a limit of 8 on, just for the limits on networking, etc. So we'll have an AI. HQ ships is the number of HQ ships that each player gets. That's between 1 and 8. 4 seems a good number. It means you've got some distribution. It means you can put up decent attack fleets, and so defense is not necessarily the optimal strategy. But, you know, that can be chosen game by game. Scatter is how far your HQ ships are spread from each other, which means a large scatter distance will make it much harder to defend them all. Sending ships between them is a bit slow and a lot more difficult. A small scatter means porcupining is much more legitimate strategy. Distance is how far apart your HQ ships and the enemy HQ ships are. A big distance means you have more time to see enemy attacks coming, to try and build a counter to them, etc. Energy is the amount of energy each command ship has. Large amounts of energy means you can throw out big fleets, you don't have to worry about energy too much, you can be a bit more aggressive. With low amounts of energy, you've got to be much more careful with spending your energy. Energy is one of the 2 resources in the game. Fundamentally, it's an ultimately limiting resource. You need energy to build anything, and there's a limited amount of it. The buttons here, start game, means the host can start the game. If some of the players aren't ready, i.e. some of the other players' crosses along here are crosses rather than ticks, then you can't start the game, that won't appear. Load map means load a map, and display map's display map. I think I covered that. Combat mechanics, very briefly. Tech mode, there's small, medium, large. Large will go through smaller, but large are an awful lot more expensive, so it's not very efficient to build type 3 of anything. RPS is literally rock, paper, scissors. 3 beats 2, 2 beats 1, 1 beats 3, and by beats, the winning weapon goes through shields and through hull. So if you've got a 1 shield up and he's got a 2 weapon, it will go straight through the shield, it won't even notice. Conversely, if it's a stalemate, the shield will go down but will come up in time to absorb the next weapon shot, and if the shield beats the weapon, it won't even absorb it. It won't even notice the weapon. It will absorb it, no effect of a shield. And traditional RTS means there are small, rapidly firing weapons, medium, reasonably fast firing weapons, and large, slow firing weapons. It's very much more traditional RTS style of combat. I quite like rock, paper, scissors. It's relatively interesting. Okay, game type. This is what scoring is. This is how scoring is done. This determines who wins, essentially. Annihilation. Destroy all your opponent's HQ ships. Nice and simple. King of the Hill. There are capture points which appear on the map. These, for every second you have you have dominance around them, i.e. you have ships and no one else has ships, then you score victory points for that capture point. Capture points have different amounts of victory points per one. It's displayed on the victory point, and so some are worth more than others. Fundamentally, you have to try and capture as much of the map as you can and hold it. It's a bit like territory control, but it's a bit more specific. Capture points is similar. You have capture points on the map, but on this one, when a point, you have to dominate a point for a certain period of time. As long as you have ships, once you've started dominating, as long as you have ships, you will keep capturing it. The only way an opponent can stop you capturing it is by destroying all your ships. Once the time has elapsed, that point is captured. The victory points go to the owning player, and the capture point will move to another place. This means that the map is continually moving. Football, really simple. There's a football, and there are goals. Picking up the football will slow down the ship who picks it up, and picking it up basically requires flying a ship very close to it. Fly a ship over it, it will pick up the football. To score on a goal, you fly the ship through the goal. Nice and simple. However, you can only score on an enemy's goal, which means you have to get into their base, you have to get into the area dominated by their command ships. Capture flag is very similar to football. Capture flag is the same, but you have to capture the goal from an opponent's thing and bring it back to your goal. If someone takes your goal, you can return it to your base by destroying the ship which is carrying it and flying a ship over it. You'll then return to your base. And you can only score by moving their flag onto the flag whilst it is in your base. Zombies is a rather more interesting version of Annihilation. The objective is to destroy all your enemy's HQ ships. However, when you destroy an enemy HQ ship, you get all of the energy that HQ ship had left distributed among your HQ ships. So you destroy their ship, and then you get some energy, which means early kills can be very valuable, particularly when enemy HQ ships have a lot of energy, and so it tends to be a lot more aggressive players who do well in zombies. Territory control. Each ship displays an area of control, or in fact an infinite area of control, but the amount of control it displays reduces with distance from the ship. And these all sum, so if you have lots of ships in one area, you get a big spike, and then that tails off as it goes further away. And so territory control is the volume of map you control is the points you get. And so you need to control as much of the map as you can without distributing your forces too thinly, allowing the enemy to punch through or destroy your ships. So basically you want ships covering a wall or a line behind which there are no enemy ships. That means you should have dominance because all your ships will be closer to that area than your enemy, and so you should win. Survival is a team game. It's not competitive, it's cooperative. All players, AI and human, are in the same boat. You've all got to survive as long as you can against infinite waves of increasingly powerful enemies. Starts off, it's pretty simple. Single player can easily survive a few waves. As time goes on, you can't build to keep up, so you've got to try and save units from earlier things. Deploying your units is very important. Attrition is vital in this. Basically, it's who can survive longest. I do have some more ideas for new game types. I've got a couple of unbalanced ones I want to implement, but due to the current state of the project, I want to get it out. I want to get people seeing it. I want to get these games tested further by more people. So that's a kind of future development. That's what I want to do. I want to do more combat mechanics. I want to do more game types. Okay, the next video will demonstrate how to actually play the game. Let's call it quits there.